Good morning, class 3. Today in social studies, we are going to do our chapter 6 means of transport. Children, you all know that to move people or things from one place to another place, we use many different means of transport. And these means of transports are divided into three parts. Number one is land transport. Number two is water transport. And number three is air transport. Let's begin with land transport. Means of land transport move either on roads or on tracks. Those which move on roads are called vehicles, and vehicles with engines are known as motor vehicles, like buses, cars, trucks, scooters, and auto rickshaws are some examples of motor vehicles. Most of them run on petrol, diesel, or gas. Some run on electricity. Motor vehicles need roads. They also cost a lot of money. That is why people in villages and in places without proper roads, like in mountains and deserts, still ride animals or use carts drawn by animals. Trains carry people, goods, parcels, and letters over long distances. Those which carry only goods, such as coal, grains, and oil, are called goods trains. A train has many coaches. The coaches are pulled by an engine called a locomotive. These days, locomotives run on diesel or electricity. Some coal-powered ones still run, mostly for tourists. The wheels of a train move on a set of tracks called railway. Now let's talk about trams. A tram looks a bit like a train and moves on tracks, but these tracks are laid on roads. The trams run on electricity. Kolkata is the only Indian city that has trams. A metro is a city's train system that runs mostly underground. Kolkata, Paris, London, Tokyo, and New York have such metros. In London, the metro is called the Underground or the Tube. In New York and other American cities, it is called the subway. In many cities, a train system running mostly above the ground is also called a metro. Cities like Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, and Bangalore have such metros. Now let's talk about the water transport. Nobody knows when the first boat was made. The idea must have come from seeing logs float in water. To begin with, people must have carved out the middle of a log to make a boat. Later, they must have added oars to go faster and sails to get help from the wind. Until about 200 years ago, all ships had sails and were made of wood. Now they are made of steel and have engines that run on oil. Not too long ago, people could cross the oceans only on ships. Ships called ocean liners carried people, goods, and mail from one port to another. Now that people can travel by air, these ships are used mostly for cruises, that is, pleasure trips. Water transport is useful for transporting heavy goods which planes cannot carry. It is also quite cheap. Containers ships carry goods packed in large metal boxes called containers. Tankers carry liquids such as oil. Ships that carry fruit, vegetables, meat, and fish have huge refrigerators to keep the food fresh. A boat, a launch, that is a large motor boat, or a ship that carries people over short distances is called a ferry. Some ferries also carry goods, vehicles, and even trains. Let's talk about the, the air transport. The fastest way to travel is by aeroplane. The first aeroplane was made only about 100 years ago. Today there are large planes called airliners that carry passengers over long distances. These planes also carry cargo or goods. There are special cargo planes too which carry only goods. A plane needs a long runway to take off and land. When we need to fly to a place that does not have a runway, we use helicopters. Helicopters can move straight up or down, so they do not need runways to take off and land. They can hover, that means that they can stay at one spot in the air or even fly backward, like you can see it here in this picture. Okay children, that's all in this lesson. Do read this lesson very carefully. Thank you.